No! No! No!
Extravaganza.
Well, hello, boys and girls. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Horror Pop Extravaganza, where you'll float too. What's up, everybody? This is the Horror Pop Extravaganza, where we bring a little of the macabre and the mindful together and trying to do something in a little under an hour that'll make your day all that much better in one way or another. I am, as always, who am I? I don't fucking know. As always, I am Pops Ghostly, and with me, this beautiful gem of a human being is
Unusually Duke Spooky.
Dang. Unusually.
If you're as always, I'm going to be unusually.
Right. I like it. Not. But we have little Duke Spooky here in the Horror Pop studios with us. And by studios, I mean various rooms across great geological expanses. But yes, we are here to bring the macabre and the mindful together. And we talked about it last week. We did a clown movie last week. I was like, we need to do a different clown movie this week just because I need to be able to talk about why clowns are so fucking scary, even if in the cornfield they're not quite as scary. So they're just like, oh, my hand fell off. Take me to the doctor and fix me. This one's like, I'm gonna fucking manipulate reality around you. Yeah, we're gonna get real scary. Before we get there, I want to introduce the newest addition to the Horror Pop family, the newest addition to the Horror Pop Extravaganza family. We have an official social media producer. I'm just calling him producer because he's already kind of reaching out, wanting to do some more things. Already showing up in just spades, man. It's fucking incredible because we really are trying to grow the show. You know, if you want to help us out there, subscribe. Even if you just like a video, I think that helps. I think he's the one who's figuring all this stuff out, you know, the algorithm and all that stuff for us, just so that we can, get a little bit more exposure without compromising the fundamentals of the show itself. Like I will never sell you some bullshit. I will never show up and sell you either an idea or anything that is, I don't believe in. But Bruce B Money is what we'll call him. He's the official third member of the Horror Pop Extravaganza, which is sweet. Bruce, we can't thank you enough. Already seeing some returns and things like that. So just awesome, dude. Awesome. So check out the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all those things. There'll be a lot more stuff coming out. Make sure to follow the Horror Pop Extravaganza. With that said, we have got a lot to talk about, and we're already about 3 minutes in. I got my little timer running. I know how much time we've got. We're not bringing, and I thought about this quite a bit, I'm not bringing a specific movie to the table today. We're bringing an idea to the table today. Now, I still would like you to go through the IMDb's of the, more current ones, and then just because there's so many cool names in there, but we're going to talk about Stephen King's It. And I was doing a little homework before this episode, reading kind of the initial response and people who have analyzed the book and shit. I've read the book, seen the movies, all the miniseries multiple times over again. And there was one woman who made an argument, was like, Pennywise is what truly cemented clowns as terrifying in the culture. And I started thinking back on that, and I'm like, that might be, there weren't really a lot of, scary clowns. You had fucking Bozo on TV and Ronald McDonald and these type of characters. But the idea of Pennywise and how nefarious this ancient alien being is terrifying. But before we get into that, please just really quickly, if you will, give us a rundown. I'll put out in the miniseries for first and foremost, my boy Tim Curry showing up in 1990 in the miniseries. I personally, when I go back and watch these things, I think they're both great in their own rights, but there's something scarier about Tim Curry to me without the CGI. because he's pretending to be really nice. Whereas I feel Skarsgård is always just kind of want a balloon, you know.
Right.
And both are correct. I think both are good representations of Pennywise. But Tim Curry, when he pulls his way out of that fucking boys' shower room after they make what's his name go take a shower, he just puts his hand on his thing like, "Hiya, Bill." And just it's like, oh fuck, man. Like, let's not. But so please, IMDb us with just some of the cats that are in some of these movies.
Real quick though, we just got to talk about how awesome was it that Stephen King held like the gold medal of the miniseries? How excited were you on a Friday night when you got to go home and you knew like
Salem's
the episode of
Lot.
It was coming out,
Yeah,
Salem's
for
Lot,
it.
Tommy Knockers, The
Min-
Stand.
The miniseries was a really big thing for a long time. You know, I think they were trying to compete with HBO and shit like that, that was starting to gain a footing in a home box office, movies at home. But the
Yeah.
idea of like the Saturday night movie and all that shit it is cool. And you would, you know, go home, like you said, it's a 2 night event because
Yeah.
it's so long. It's 2 nights, so you got to do it. And Stephen King is like I would say, the king of fucking adaptations of his work. Just, I don't think the man's written almost everything's been adapted in one way or another, and for good reason, I believe. But yes, it's crazy. But yeah, so the original, the 1990, ran on television over 2 nights. It was the book, well, I want to say it was like 86, somewhere in there when the book came out, but it was a fucking phenom too. I remember as a child seeing my grandmother's original copy that had the claw hand, the green thing coming out of the sewer grate, and
Yeah.
just being like, I don't even want to look at that book, let alone fake, because it was scary, man. It was like, what is this fucking creepy thing in the sewer? So introduce
All
us
right.
to the world of Stephen King's It.
The man that brought this back to us was Andy Muschietti, who's a fucking killer when it comes to horror stuff. He's got such a vision that it is
Yeah,
like different. Like if you were going to take on it and update it, you know, he had big shoes to fill,
literally.
literally. And in those big shoes, Billy Skarsgård, dude,
Yeah.
making the weirdest eyeballs and the scariest smile I've ever seen on a human being.
And the shit was real. Like, I think this most of the smile and the eyeball thing was
Oh
all
yeah, dude. I've seen him do it in interviews. It's crazy. And then we get to our youngster cast. Uh, Jaden Martell played Bill. Little Finn Wolford coming in hot off Stranger
been
Things,
both hard, baby.
playing Richie. Uh, Sophia Lillis, who I think is awesome. She played Beverly.
She killed it.
Jeremy Ray Taylor played Ben. Chosen Jacobs played Mike. And Jack Dylan Grazer played Eddie.
Yes. And I got to meet a lot of those kids at a convention. All super fucking nice little kids and shit.
Really?
Little one though, the little guy that played Georgie, he was still only, you know, he was young at the time, and he was still at this point like 5 or 6 or 7 or something, just acting a damn fool like any kid would. You know what I mean? They're like, "Stand for the picture," and he's like, running all around and like, no. It was fun. It was fun.
But he's the emotional fucking weight of the story. Without a good Georgie,
Yeah.
you don't give a shit about any of this.
Yeah.
So he was so good. Do you want me to go through and talk about the older cast?
Oh, dude, we got like who? You got Bill Hader, James McAvoy, Bryce Dallas Howard. Am I right?
Oh,
No, Jessica Chastain.
there you go.
There we go. Yeah,
The other redhead.
the other redhead in Hollywood. And then who am I? Who I don't remember who I'm really missing. I can't remember the cat that played Mike. But I feel like those ones were a lot of the bigger names that I remember being like, oh shit, they're bringing in some really cool talent, you know, for this thing and to do it. And that's good, man. You don't even have to read what IMDb is going to say it's about because we're going to talk about all that. But there's a lot of great character actors all throughout. Even in was it John Ritter is in the miniseries, which is super cool. Like there's Olivia Hussey, Black Christmases. Olivia Hussey is in there as well, playing I think she's in there. Does she play Bev? Maybe that's not her. It's another actress. But either way, who cares? Lots of great performances and faces you recognize across this whole thing, which stemmed from the move or the book by Stephen King. That's a beast, dude. I remember the first time I read it, and I was like, "This is a real man's book. This is a, 1,500 pages plus." The story revolves around the small town of Derry, Maine. And in Derry, Maine, apparently, like a billion years ago, a million years ago, this entity crashed from space and buried itself under the earth. It was just there. And for millions of years or whatever, until the Native Americans showed up, and then it would wake up, feed on these people's fears. And this entity, the it entity, comes from the macroverse, which is apparently outside and inside all known existence. And he's got his brother, the turtle, which you see referenced in a lot of Stephen King shit. Pennywise would be referenced in a bunch more books. Even I remember reading Nosferatu and his kid brought it up, Joe Hill, in the Nosferatu book. And I was like, dope, dude. Like, throw your dad's little Easter eggs in there.
Yeah.
But this entity crash landed to space. It's ancient evil, just evil, whereas the turtle represents, the other side of that coin, the divine and these good things in the universe. And the it entity doesn't see people as anything more than playthings. He sees the real enemy is my turtle brother. That's the only one who I ever really have to contend with. So he's been underground, and we hear stories throughout about the natives. Something happened, a whole settlement worth of people, like 170 people at one point, up and disappeared. You had the mines, or the ironworks explosion that killed a whole bunch of people. And then there are stories throughout, just hearsay of, this and that happened and this something. But when they start to map it out, it looks like every 27 years this thing wakes up to feed, and it's hungry. And what does it feed on? It feeds on your fears. And the fears are easiest to manipulate in children. So it really feeds on these kids' fears. But the entity can take the shape of almost anything. Continually and almost always, we see Pennywise as a clown, because that's just, it's fucking scary. Even though the idea back then was that, kids aren't really afraid of clowns. You know what I mean? They'll come to these, they'll approach this guy. And so we see it as a spider. I remember in the book, it was a lot of cool universal monsters, like Frankenstein's monster and the Wolfman and shit like that, which was kind of awesome, which probably for rights, I would guess, is the only reason they couldn't do it. They just didn't want to pay for it. But it can turn into anything. And for, I don't want to say small-minded, what's the word I'm looking for? Weak-minded people, it can manipulate them as well, essentially take over, whether that's just them turning a blind eye or it's them becoming a part of this, masquerade that this thing is creating in order to drive up your fear to the absolute top. And then it's like dinner time. The true form, from everything I understand, the true form is the Deadlights. And that's its most, pure, because I don't think it has any kind of gender. We see it as Pennywise a lot, but then you also see it as a giant spider laying fucking eggs all over. And I'm like, yeah, so I don't think really has any gender either way. But the Deadlights seem to be how it feeds. Like, it sucks that out of you, all that fear, and you get caught in these big, just kind of swirling orange and yellow lights when he opens his mouth. And then you're looking into the Deadlights and he's sucking your essence or whatever it is out of you. So Pennywise is fucking scary. The town of Derry is also really scary, because somehow Pennywise also has the ability to kind of make them forget things that happen. Like, even when you see, and I think both iterations of the movie, the miniseries and the 2-part movie, you see them. Mike's the only one that is like, yo, you got to come back to Derry. Like, we said if it came back, and then it like clicks with them, almost like amnesia. Like, they were unaware of everything that had happened. And you watch this or read this and you're like, how could you possibly forget? But that, I think, is another power of it. That is another power of and to keep Derry kind of suppressed. And the town of Derry itself is kind of awful. There's like racism everywhere, homophobia. I remember in the book reading that. The book opened right up with the two guys down by the water who he sees Pennywise. I remember reading that in the book. Like Pennywise is just chomping his armpit and his fucking arm is bouncing all over and there's balloons and yeah, creepy shit, man. But you see, you've got racism, homophobia, you have child abuse, a lot of child abuse across the board, child neglect, just, parents not really caring one way or another. But it deals with a lot of these social, it's almost like the kids were never safe, even at home. You know, Pennywise was almost this manifestation of the real world that they were already having to live in, like this shit spot, man. Like, and in the book, they have fun, like the kids have fun, but they don't really have anyone besides each other. They are the only people who can help to keep them up. And when that starts to break, that's when Pennywise really goes good. So let's talk story now. That's all the exposition we probably need about the clown. Because I think most people listening to this have, they're probably familiar with Pennywise. It's impossible not to be familiar with Pennywise. I would say right there next to Jason, he's probably now one of the most recognizable horror icons. Like you see a clown face like Pennywise, you know exactly what it is. Both movies open up, and like you said, without a good Georgie, you don't have the heart of this. You don't have the meat and the weight. And Pennywise wakes up after a big storm. There's like a big storm or a flood or something, and we see shit going down the roads, and Georgie's all excited. The rain's running hard. Bill, I want to make a paper boat. Like, help me, help me. I want to go float my paper boat. And all of the kids in both series, I feel like, do a great job. Because even what's his name was from Sidekicks with Chuck Norris. He played a young Bill in the miniseries. I can't remember his name, but I don't.
Jonathan Brandis. Everybody used to say I look like him.
Nice, nice. So he's like, you got to go down to the basement. And we're always playing with this idea of fear. Georgie goes down there in the miniseries. It's like raw and big and scary. And in the remakes, he doesn't want to be down there. It's this scary place. He goes down, gets the paraffin wax, goes up, makes the boat. I love you, Bill. I love you too, George. Like you believe this shit right out of the gate. And you're like, okay. You see the kid, da 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 da. I laughed my ass off in the theater in the remake when he hit his fucking head on the road sign or the road barricade. Yeah, I thought that was a nice touch. So he's running along, and then his boat goes down into a drain opening. He's like, "Oh no, Bill's gonna kill me. He's gonna be so sad. Bill's gonna be scared." The idea of something down in the sewer alive.
I've never walked past an open grate and not thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you going in the ocean after Jaws. Like every time I look at a grate, I picture a clown looking out at me.
Right. And we don't see the clown immediately. You hear the voice. And he's like, hiya, Georgie. And it's like, oh, no, no, no. And Georgie's good for a while. Like, I was told never to talk to strangers. Like, you're pretty fucking. Then this is a big stranger danger movie, too. That was a huge stranger danger movie, which is a concept that goes back, eras, generations for so long. And the little kid looks down. He's like, well, it's fuck clown, can't be that bad. And you have to imagine this is a little kid's mind. It's not the mind of an adult. Like, why is there a fucking clown in the sewer? Get away from there as fast as you can. And Georgie conversates with Pennywise, and Pennywise tricks him into reaching in for his boat and then grabs his arm. In the original, we don't see much. In the miniseries, in the remakes, you see this giant long clown arm come out and grab little one-armed Georgie and yank him back down into the sewer.
Yeah.
Fast forward a little bit. Bill is Georgie's older brother who holds a lot of the weight of Georgie's death. He carries that burden because he's the one who made him the boat and, did all this stuff, feels responsibility. He's got maps and the barrens and places they got to go. But our ragtag group of friends go through a lot on their own. Like Mike sees a lot of the racism. Ben with the bullying, like where they carve shit into his belly down by before they make the fort. Super intense, man. Like just and Penny.
All the older people in this are just as scary as Pennywise.
Exactly.
Like Beverly's dad is, ugh. And then the one kid whose mom's like obsessed with him.
Yes,
So scary, dude.
Stan. Yeah, Stan, who's the germaphobe in a lot of ways. Yeah, and the new one's the leper shows up and he's just covered in sores, and that kid's like, "Fuck." Yeah, it was good. So our losers club all kind of band together. They're misfits who find each other. And so you do have Ben, Bill, Mike, Richie, Beverly. Is that everybody? Bill, Beverly, Mike, Ben the comedian, or no, Richie the comedian, Stan, who cuts his wrists at the beginning after he finds out about I swear there's another one that I'm totally forgetting about. That fucking sucks. But either way, you get all of this group of kids who find each other, and throughout the course of this summer, they're battling Pennywise. They're battling this ancient evil. It starts to show up as things like Georgie to Bill. Bill, why'd you let me die? You'll fall too. You'll fall too. Really traumatizing stuff. Beverly, she, like you said, experiences, I think, even more trauma at the hands of her father than she does at the hands of Pennywise.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, when the blood explodes all over her bathroom in both of them, and her dad's like, "What are you talking about? I can't see nothing," da da da. And she's like, "What do you mean? Like, this fucking," they clean it all up and then it splatters, and she goes through hell. They're also going through hell with the local bully, Henry Bowers, who Henry has his little gang of I can't remember their names, but his little cronies that hang out with him. And Henry, though, like, his relationship with his father is also awful. His dad's local sheriff who just beats the shit out of him and, treats him like trash, like shooting at his feet. I mean, you ever seen him dance like that, boys? You want to see somebody piss their pants? Yeah, and like you said, none of the adults in this are worth really anything. Even when we're at the library, but again, Pennywise has this ability, or it has this ability to manipulate the world around you as well. So I feel like he's controlling a lot of these people, these adults at the same time, or keeps them at this level of oppression that they can just never get out of. Like it's always right there, this overwhelming doom and gloom. Richie gets, I want to say Wolfman's because he loves going to the movies. I love in the miniseries when he threw, and wasn't that who played Richie in the miniseries? Like fucking Jamie Kennedy or somebody like that. I feel like
I think it was Seth Green.
Seth Green. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right. It was Seth Green. And he throws the pop over top of these guys at the movie theater. So now they're getting chased not only by their real lives, but also by an ancient evil alien, and then these local bullies who seem to want nothing more than to just project the hurt that they feel out into the world. Like Henry's got to have somewhere to put it. And then, like we talked about, he carves Ben up. There's a scene where Ben's down at the Barrens in the miniseries where he sees his dad in the military uniform just holding the balloons, and he's like, "Come on, son. It'll be great." I'm like, "Ow, dude, you're playing with kids like dead parents and shit." And that's how you really get, true fear. And Pennywise, this whole time, seems to be just building up to wanting to eat them. He's getting them as scared as humanly possible before he takes them over. They decide at some point, we got to take the fight to fucking Pennywise. We know he's down in the old sewers. The Barrens is what I think they call it. We know he's down there. How are we going to do it? In the book, they all have sex with each other. It's a weird, kind of different ritual of Chud. But again, it wasn't a sexual thing. Like in the book, it never felt like it was a sexual thing. It was like this combining of powers and something. But in the movie, the idea is that all of them, together, they collectively make up this force that if he separates, because even at some point after I think they go to the house for the first time, they separate and like Bill punches fucking Richie for some reason. And they kind of start to go their own ways. You get some sad music and whatnot. But we get to a point where, as children, they all have to confront Pennywise. And in both of these miniseries and movies, this is cool. It's awesome. Beverly floating up in the deadlights, her eyes all gone. You have the added element of Henry Bowers and them follow them down into the tunnels and stuff. The one kid dies, and then Mike gets in a fight, I think, with Henry. leaves him up there somewhere, but it all falls back on Henry Bowers. They think he's the one who did all this shit. You know, he's the culprit. We got to put somebody away for something. But meanwhile, they're down in the sewers seeing all kinds of terrible shit. You know, nightmare fuel is just happening. They get separated here, separated there, blah 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 blah. We get Pennywise. I want to say gets shot. I think Stan gets him with his inhaler, this battery acid, you slime. Pew, pew. But it's more they have collectively built up enough strength that I don't think it thought that human beings had a collective power, like, you know, go power, you know, do the thing. But together they're fighting and they're growing and they're creating this strength that they are able to fucking shoot him in the head. Beverly was always the best one with the slingshot. Hits him with some silver, I think, and he into a fucking hole where he's going to stay for a while. They make a pact after this summer. They're like, look, whatever happens, if it comes back, we're going to come back and fight this thing. We can't let it not happen. Okay, let's do it. In the newer movies, you get a cool like blood pack and shit and people cutting themselves. I don't remember if they cut themselves. I think they did maybe in the old one, but they all agree to do this thing. And that was the end of the first part of the miniseries. You're like, oh, that's crazy. Where are we going to go from here? Oh, yeah, that's a whole nother part of the movie. And the book is set up in very much the same way. You have this segment with the children, and then the segment 27 years later when they have to come back and fight this thing. For me, the opening of the second part of the miniseries is one of the scariest things in the whole thing. When I was a kid, dude, and Stan's up there, he's like, hey, I'm going to go take a bath. And he was another famous guy, too, that played the adult Stan. I feel like he was a TV dad somewhere in my mind. But he's like, hey, he gets the call.
He was the dude from The Thing with the dogs.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And he gets a call. Hey, it's Mike Hamlin. He's like, Mike Hamlin? Like, who? He's like, from Derry, Mike Hamlin. And then you just see like this look on his face, like, fuck. Everything comes flooding back. And all of the adult people that we had known as children are all very successful. But interesting that none have children at the same time. You know, not a one of them has a kid, but they are all very successful. You know, Beverly, I think, is some kind of like, or no, Ben's an architect. Beverly's some kind of big wig in some company. Bill's a writer. He becomes an author, which we forgot. What's the name of his pedal bikes? He just kept saying Hi Ho Silver. I think maybe they just called it Silver or something like that. But he becomes a famous author. Stan looks successful wherever he's at, but we only see him for a very short time as an adult. He doesn't make it very long. And then Mike had stayed in Derry. He stayed and ran the library in Derry almost, and he never forgot because he never left Derry. And I think that's what makes me believe there's something like a cloud over the town of Derry that does something.
He's the only one that didn't become successful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And even when he goes to his house, because Pennywise like tells like, oh, just let me live and I'll give you whatever you want. You'll live great lives and that shit. And they all ended up getting that. But you're right. Mike never became super successful, but he's been there watching. He stood the watch. He's like, you all got to go, but I got to stay in the watch. Somebody's got to make sure this thing doesn't come back. 27 years later, he calls Stan. Hey, it's Mike. And Stan just so nonchalant. He's like, "Hey, bring me a beer up in the bathtub, and I just need to relax for a little bit." Oh yeah, Mike, sure, I'll be there. His wife goes to get him the stuff, goes up to the bathtub, and sees him just laying there, dead eyes, with a razor in one hand and his wrist just bleeding out all over the bathroom floor, but not before he wrote in his own blood "it" on the wall. I'm like, oh, like it was so terrifying that's like, nope. And Stan was always the one who was the most afraid. He was always the most scared, and it took a lot for him to overcome things. But so he kills himself. Mike ends up calling everybody else, and a lot of the same reactions, but they're like, I gotta go. You know, this is it. I don't care what's going on. I gotta get to Derry. The adults in both the miniseries and the movie, I think, do a great job. We see a lot of more tormenting of them. The restaurant scene is a standout, in both of those. I
Yeah.
think even in the new one, I struggle with the amount of CGI that they used in some of the new one. It's not awful and it makes sense to the books, but it's just scarier to me if you know that that's just a real dude in some makeup.
Yeah.
That's a little bit scarier. But the restaurant scene, all the fortune cookies start coming alive with eyeballs in them and shit, and spiders are crawling all over. It's a really effective. We're back in Derry. And a few of them are like, I need to leave. This is too much. Yeah, it was fun seeing everybody. I got to go. And they're like, no, dude, we got to stay and do the thing. Take some convincing across the board for them all to agree to stay. There's a love triangle between Beverly, Bill, and Ben that, is kind of now starting to resolve itself. A letter that was written, you're something, something, winter embers, your eyes are this and that. But she didn't know who it came from. And she thought it was Bill the whole time because he turned into the writer. But it turns out it was Ben, who was the little chunky kid who's now all fit and sexy. And, they all really, I would say, on a superficial layer, surface level layer, are very successful. They've all got all the things that most people are like, oh yeah, that'll be it. Once you get all that, you'll be all right. We agree to stay in Derry, and Mike fills everyone in. Like, look, I've done the homework now, which they had started kind of as kids. And he's like, this goes back so far. This is something, and I don't know if we really killed it or maybe something had happened to one of the kids. And that's why he calls him. He sees something or something happens that gets Mike to call them all. But once he gets them all together, explains the full story. Okay, now we have to resolve some shit on our own. So they all kind of go off in their own paths. Beverly goes back to her house, her old house. Really good scene in the new movies.
Old ladies. Oh,
Naked old ladies running, but just skittering by.
dude, that scared me so bad.
Yeah, very good stuff. And I wish we would have kept with the scary naked old lady when it becomes the big like doom, doom, doom. It kind of takes me out a little bit.
Right.
Or do you like the Crooked Man in The Conjuring too, where it was just a real dude with stilts and good camera work? You know what I mean? To make something grow like that. So she has to confront that. There is, I think, maybe Richie and somebody else might have liked each other, or Richie's gay and didn't never tell anybody. Because I remember Pennywise in the new one floating down like, I know your secret, your dirty little secret. Because there was something when they were young at the arcade where they were sitting there playing, and but he gets confronted in that way. Bill gets his bike back. Great Stephen King cameo in the new one, where he's like, "Yeah, it was all right. You just don't know how to end a book." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, at least you can laugh at it." Gets the bike back, starts riding that around, confronts, he sees a little kid in the street and stops him. He's like, don't ever go by that sewer grate. And he's like, oh, I saw somebody down there. Something was singing or something, and he's like, don't you ever, blah, blah, blah. Ends up at the carnival, which is a really cool scene with Pennywise in the House of Mirrors and all that stuff. You get a ton of fun. As we said, Mike's always been there. I can't remember what he had to go back and do, or maybe it was just dealing with the Beverly stuff. I loved him in the first remake though, with the New Kids on the Block poster on the back of his door, dude. So good. And now we agree we have to fight Pennywise. Meanwhile, Pennywise sees this now, I think, as a threat and goes to the hospital, manipulates everyone there, and is able to free Henry Bowers. And he's like, hey, you got to go kill these motherfuckers you didn't kill last time. Remember? Remember them bad little kids? Oh, I remember. And in the miniseries, it was so cool with the moon, where he's just Tim Curry's face looking down. Henry Bowers. He's just like, huh? Yay! Gives Henry a knife. At one point, Eddie. That's who we're forgetting, dude. Eddie the whole time.
Oh, right.
Eddie, yes. Eddie was the one with the overbearing mom. And because he stabs Eddie, Henry shows up at the house, or maybe it's Mike's house or somewhere where they're all staying together, and stabs one of them. He catches it like, oh, shit. And that dude's funny as fuck, too. Sinister. He was the cop in Sinister. And he They end up killing Henry Bowers finally for the last time. Now we've got to go fight the big bad evil, the last. Like, this has to happen. It's crazy because it goes all over the place. Like, first you got Pennywise, but then I love the big spider. This thing will become anything to scare you. And as an adult, a clown, just a regular sized clown is not going to be that scary, but a giant arachnid, always scary,
Always scary. Yeah.
whether small or tall.
Yeah.
Always scary. Laying eggs everywhere, and it's like, oh, what's going on here? Like, we could have a bunch of Pennywise babies. This is different. I know. Bunch of naked old ladies come crawling out of those things, like rare exports with all the naked Santas or all the naked elves. I fucking love them naked elves. I'm tired. So the final battle happens back down where they were at originally, down wherever Pennywise, goes to hibernate deep under the earth and stuff like that. We get down there. I don't recall exactly how they kill. I feel like everybody just, steps up to the bat, kind of like they did when they're kids. Like, I love Richie when he tells Bill, like, first you fucking make me come down here, then you make me do this. This is all your fault, and now I gotta kill this fucking clown. And we're in this same environment where everybody's coming together, but this time they are actually able to defeat the evil entity, the alien entity, as far as we know. There's some stuff in some of Stephen King's other books that I want to say there's something where Pennywise lives is written somewhere in one of the other books, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'd go down that road again.
They talk about the Bowers kid? Isn't that the kid from Stand By Me? The dead body is the Bowers kid.
Yeah, so
I wonder if he's
I
related.
wonder. There's a bunch of them in the Tommy Knockers. Somebody goes to Derry, I remember, and sees like they're like, I saw a clown in the sewer with silver dollar eyes. It didn't make sense. And you get a little nod there. Dreamcatcher goes to Derry, and I don't remember exactly what happened in that one, but I know that one was there, and I feel like there might have been
The
in the
Dark Tower does too. Yeah.
Yeah, the Dark Tower, really, because that's where you're starting to deal with these giant, more macroverse, bigger outside of, the knowledge of gods and man kind of creatures and this universal thing. The Dark Tower, fucking so good, dude.
Fire, man.
Yeah, like I said, I'm rereading Lord of the Rings right now, and it's hard for me. I'm like, what is the best high fantasy series? In my mind, it's either was one of those two, just grabs me and pulls me in, and the Dark Tower was fire on a whole nother level. So they end up defeating somebody dies though. I think Eddie dies down in the hole. Somebody dies down in the hole, but they end up defeating the evil entity and then, kind of go back to their lives, and will probably forget, most of the stuff once they leave Derry again, because they didn't start having the memories until they came back, and they had to go. I think that's what it was. They had to rediscover the evil almost. And go around Derry and be like, oh, I remember now. I remember being at the arcade. I remember being at the movie theater. I remember giant Paul Bunyan chasing me around like. But these movies across the board and the book included, it is true terror from every direction.
Yeah.
From every direction, man. It's just gnarly, digging at those primal type fears that get you, and it's an abusive world around you. It's a scary alien trying to get you at the same time. It's amnesia. It's trying to go through puberty and figure out love and all these different emotions that are flooding you all over the place at the same time. So out of how many Pennywises, out of five Pennywises, how many do you give the idea of it?
Ooh, the idea of it. We're talking it all, huh?
Right.
I mean, that's a hot fire five, dude. Like, Stephen King is just the top of his game. This was Stephen King at the very tippy top of his game.
Yeah.
The movies, same thing. The original miniseries I saw way later. I didn't even see it when it was on TV. I saw it when it was like a 4 cassette boxed thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw that but yeah, I loved it. And then when the new one came out, I remember I was so pissed. We went opening day and it was like a big movie. Like it
Yeah.
was going to be a big summer movie. And I went with my Trash Panda friend Alicia, who was from my other podcast, and she was like, I gotta take a shit. And I'm like, okay, cool. And she goes and like the movie's starting, and I'm like, I'm texting her. I'm like, where you at? She's like, I'm still pooping. And I was like, we had to go and we had to give up our tickets for our show and try to get tickets for a later show. That's what I remember about it. I always remember shit.
And I remember it was the first date that my wife and I went on was, yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, and I remember just being blown away and like, man, you guys really did it. Like you did a thing that I didn't think you were gonna be able to do. And Skarsgård fucking slays across the board. I'm with you. It's a solid, like the idea of it is just a 5 out of 5
Yeah.
because there are few things that have scared me the way Pennywise the dancing clown has scared me over the years. And like you said, I still walk by sewer grates like,
Yeah. And I love what Curry did with the first one.
oh,
And
dude.
the fact that Skarsgård was able to do something totally different with the same
Yeah.
character was such a cool thing. It felt so fresh again.
New, yeah, which was kind of hard, but it just did that Curry one still gets me though. Him just
Yeah, it's
the
like because
opening
like you said,
sequence with the girl behind the he's laughing and kind of there like behind the flowing sheets
right.
on the clothesline. Yeah,
Curry's version could have been a serial killer dressed up like a clown,
right,
where like you pretty quickly get that Skarsgård is a supernatural
right.
being.
Well, you kind of get that with Curry too, like when he pulls open tile flooring, and then peeks his head out and then turns into a werewolf when he's chasing Richie around. But I think they're both awesome, in their own rights. Yeah. And I believe if it wouldn't have been a miniseries, if you could have gone like with a hard R back in the day, it probably would have been a little bit of a different movie too. But I don't really care because I think it's great for exactly what it is. So Stephen King's It. We salute you. 5 out of 5 across the board. Now let's take a moment to pause for the living. This week was hard, dude. Very hard in a lot of ways. Very hard in a lot of ways. Just the MS stuff was fucking crazy. Like it's been hot, trying to do too many things, I feel like at once. And I don't know if I ever really complain anymore. I try not to. And we've talked about that before on the podcast. We've talked about it, but I'm going to talk about it again because we are a fucking complaining culture right now, dude, about everything.
Yeah.
I feel like motherfuckers would find ways to complain about winning the lottery. Well, I
Oh yeah.
guess the taxes
You got to pay taxes on that.
right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Complaining about almost everything. And I was talking to my kid about it. We were driving back up from Port Huron this morning, and I was talking to him about it in the car a little bit. And I asked him this question, and I will ask you, and I will ask everyone listening the same exact question. And you don't have to answer it right now, but take some time to think about it. When has frustration or complaining yielded a positive result?
Oh yeah, man. Totally.
And I asked my wife the same thing, right? I text you, I was in the bathtub because I barely was able to walk in the house and I dumped it full of Epsom salts and I'm just soaking in some jets. Like my body's like crinkle, crinkle, crunch, crunch, just trying to get. And I asked her that same question. And I said, when does it ever? And we talked about it for a second. And I believe that the only thing complaining or frustration does, and when we complain, I think what we're looking for is validation.
Yeah, you want other people to be like, totally, man. I feel that same way too.
Right. Or just somebody to ask us. We walk around, somber as fucking acting miserable all the time. Just fishing for somebody to say, validate me. Validate this anger that I feel, this frustration that things aren't going the way that I wanted them to go. I need you to validate me. And then once you get a little bit of validation, then you're like, oh, I'm right. but you'll seek out validation from people who are going to fucking validate you. You know,
Yeah.
you won't be like, I'm going to go to somebody who, might really question me or might, we need people like those in our lives. People we can go to and be like, be real, be real. Am I fucking up? Like, I've got one. And he will tell me, like, brah, that's fucked up. Like, think about it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yep, you're right. But we seek that validation, and then that justifies our probably wrong perception to begin with. But truly ask yourself, when does complaining or when does frustration yield super positive results?
Yeah, I mean, my mom used to always say, like, when did worrying ever solve a problem?
Right.
So why waste your time? Why waste your energy? Because worrying is the same thing as, complaining. It's like your worrying is just you complaining to yourself. And then
Exactly.
complaining is like you complain to other people. Yeah, like you said, for the validation. And that gets under my fucking skin, dude. Like I can smell when people are doing that to me. And I will literally talk about anything other than what's going on in their day because I just want to fuck with them.
And I get some of that, man. It's like I feel like complaining almost seems like common language nowadays.
Yeah, yeah, it really
Even
does.
when
And
I'm at the gas station or something like that, and inside, and I'll hear the clerk, somebody will ask the clerk, "Oh, how are you doing?" Well, I'm still here. And it's like, well, fucking either do something about it or shut the fuck up.
right.
Shut the fuck up. There's no reason for it. You know what I mean? Like in my mind anymore, I just don't see any good reason that I don't see complaining doing anything positive.
Yeah.
And
And
I
that's
would love
where,
someone throw it in the comments, tell me where complaining helps. Sometimes there's that thing like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but I don't think that's necessarily complaining. That's fighting for something. You know what I mean? It's like, say, for me, the VA is a big one. You have to advocate for yourself at the VA. So I might call them over and over again and be like, hey, but it's not really complaining. It's more just advocating. And again, squeaky wheel gets the grease. So you just be squeaky. Squeaky is not complaining. That's just trying to get your shit right. Whereas complaining is more looking at reality and saying, it should be different.
Mhm.
It should be different for
But
me.
not being willing to do anything to fix it, not coming out with answers of the complaining, like what can solve it. You just want to fucking bitch into the void, which is social media.
Right. Or
You
in
know?
just the real world. Like I said with the gas station examples, I see it all the time. Sometimes I try to be extra nice to people and it's like I can't get through to them. They're
Yeah.
just fucking miserable. And it starts with I don't know, man. It just starts with complaining. Like there is no reason to complain about anything. And if I am wrong, please tell me. Tell me,
Well, you
tell me.
are complaining about how bad people complain.
True. True. Or more just observing the world that I currently live in, because that is what I try and do more than anything else. But it's even in the face of success, people will find something wrong, and you'll find those people in our lives who will go to them and they will validate you, and then that becomes like your little posse of motherfuckers that just sit and complain all day. Oh my goodness, can you believe this? Can you believe that? Look at this. Can you believe that shit? Look at that. Oh, and they're telling you, oh yeah, that is bad. And you're like, yeah, I knew because you validated me. So look at your own life, everyone. Look at your life and see, or the next time you complain about some shit, the next time you complain, stop. First, admit that it's your fault because everything in your life, if you're like, oh, my hot water heater broke, you bought a house. Oh, my car broke down, you bought a car. Oh, my kids are being bad. 100% on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can tie everything back to your own, but question it. Be like, what is this yielding that is helpful? And it's hard.
If the best endorphin hit you get all day is from somebody telling you that you were right, your life's probably fucked up. Maybe look at yourself, maybe make a change or two.
I'd say that's a pretty good observation.
Thank you.
Say that's pretty
I
good.
really got an endorphin hit off that.
Dopamine, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the pause for the living for today is just look at those areas in your own life where I feel and at its core, complaining is a denial of reality. It's saying I wish the situation was something that it is actively not. Whereas like, well, I'm here. All right.
I mean, let's face it, we're all in a situation right now that we wish was actively not happening to us, but complaining isn't going to fix it.
Right, right. And yeah, I think the whole world's in a situation right now where a lot of people are like, I wish it wasn't crazy. And I asked my mom when I was down there, because I talked to her about the social media shit and stuff also, because her generation is the one getting hit almost the hardest with some of them. And I said, when you were a kid, I was like, were people always fucking like worried and shit like this when you were a teenager? She was born in 60. So she was a teenager in the 70s. And there was terrible shit going on still. There was Vietnam, there was all these other things happening, just happened, about to happen. The 80s are about to go crazy with just fucking bonkers across the board. And she thought about it for a minute and she was like, honestly, I don't think so. And I was like, I just feel like I could feel the whole world like crying out at one time and like the weight of just, I don't know. I feel like we are pressing ourselves. We're creating this cloud of just negativity that we all have to live under now. We keep putting out so much complaining, so much frustration, so much blaming, so much finger pointing, so much of this that we have collectively, it's not one person's fault. It's just we've collectively created an environment that is in a weird place, in a fucking kind of scary place.
Absolutely. I know somebody will be like, did you see what fucking Trump did today? And you know what? I'm like, yes, and yes, I was mad. But just think about it this way. If you just didn't look at your phone at all today, you wouldn't know what Trump did today because it doesn't affect your everyday life.
Right. You'd have to wait for the newspaper to come out.
Yeah. And even then, if you just ignored it, you probably make it like a couple months before the world actually ends and you actually would notice something happened.
Right. Like that dude in Japan. You remember he was there for like 3 years or some shit on an island. Still thought the war was going on
And you know
after.
what? I kind of envy that guy, dude.
Right.
Like, I wish. I say every day, dude, I'm like, I want to go back into the Matrix, dude. I don't give a fuck. I just want to taste the steak, dude.
Right. You are right though. What are we putting in front of our faces?
Yeah, we're feeding our anger and our hate and our you talked about the cloud that is over all of us. You can
Yeah.
take two steps to the side and be out of it.
Right. And
And
it's a nice
it's
place to
not
come
as
hang out.
real as you and it's not as scary when you're not inundating yourself with it all the time. And that's the difference between your mom's generation and our generation,
Right.
is that at least they were being lied to in a believable way. And
Right.
we are not. The veil has been pulled back and we see what's really going on. And we're like, "Ah."
Yeah, this is kind of, and you're really right, man, in a lot of ways, and it is so different. And I told my wife for Christmas I want a flip phone, and I think I'm gonna do it. I'm going to a dumb phone
Yeah.
because if you were to, it's just that idea of being constantly connected, and then we've developed this FOMO and FOBO, where we're in this heightened state of what am I missing out on? What am I missing out on? What am I missing out on? Oh, I better check the thing in case something happened. I better check the thing again in case something happened. Did you hear about what happened? And like
Right.
you said, there was a friend of mine, and we'll end it on this because this is, I feel like, sums it all up pretty well. There was a friend of mine who I was tattooing on, and he was talking about some shit that he had seen on TikTok, some scary shit. And we walked through the whole process. And I'm like, okay, so what'd you get out of that? This and this. What did it change? Da, 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 this, that, and the other. And we boiled it down to all he had gained was fear.
Yeah, totally.
That was the only thing he gained
Right.
was fear. And we've mentioned it many times. Fear and stress release bad hormones through us that ravage our cardio system, metabolic systems. Just right. And we deduced that all he figured out was he was afraid of something new, but did
Yeah.
nothing about it. It didn't. And we're talking about in a world where you look at things now for a couple seconds at a time. You don't
Hmm.
have time to process. Now you just have some weird clickbait headline floating around in your head. You'll never guess what happened to fucking so and so. You didn't even try to objectively look at it from different directions. You went on to the next thing and it was like, oh, now I'm afraid of 10 things.
Yeah.
Now there's fucking microplastics killing my whole everything. And I'm not saying some of this shit isn't real, but when it becomes your obsession or your, when that's scary too. So
This
yeah,
This podcast is all about scary.
It
But
is,
there's good
man.
scary and there's bad scary.
Yes, there is good scary.
Pretend scary and there's real scary.
Right.
Stick with the pretend scary.
Even though the pretend scary normally lines up with the real world scary, it's people trying to deal with it, and they do it in horror movies. So, what do we got next week? What is our non-clown movie?
We're going to be conjuring up a little something next week.
Sweet, sweet. With the original?
The OG is, yeah, it just says The Conjuring. So I'm going to say OG.
So good, dude. Yes. And we do have a new Conjuring coming out pretty quick here.
Yes, we
I
do.
I don't know when it hits, but yes, The Conjuring. Ooh, if you haven't seen that one, give it a watch before we talk. 'Cause man, is that fucking effective. So for the Horror Pop Extravaganza, I've been Pops Ghostly.
I've been Big Duke Spooky.
We love you. Do a random act of kindness. And whatever subscribe or like or whatever I'm supposed to ask for.
No! No! No!
Extravaganza.